Alright, cool. For some reason, my voice sounds way deeper and way more depressing in whenever I record with my phone. So, yeah. That's weird. Anywho, also, I apologize for how low I might seem to be talking. I'm actually talking quite loud, but again, my phone really sucks. Real quick, I'm going to be discussing the debate of whether or not saberforge sucks, or if it's better or worse compared to ultra sabers. I'm gonna try and get through this really quick. If anyone wants background, just comment and I'll let you know. I'll also make a separate video explaining anything custom saber community wise. So, but besides that, for those of you that do know, this is a saberforge particle sun. It's meant to be. It's supposed to be based off of the hero version of Luke's Return of the Jedi lightsaber. It's not advertised as a direct replica. So they had to jump the gun a little bit. Like this black box button right here is supposed to be higher up on the activation box. These are supposed to be smaller and spread apart, but I mean, it's adequate enough in my opinion for what I got for a little under $100. I can't remember exactly what I bought it for, but for a pretty cheap metal replica that is cheaper than the Hasbro one, where it has this thick neck, I really like this. Speaking of which, the whole, in my opinion, the whole debate as to whether or not the electronics are good or not in saberforge products is very invalid. Reason being is because every single video that you see, the electronics are already ripped out, and I don't see any validity in having the electronics already out and then saying that they were inside the hilt. Again, I can't testify that they're great electronics because I never had electronics in here. I'm just saying, don't base it off of videos that already have the electronics ripped out, and then they start saying crap about it, or they already have the saber all banged up and pieces falling off and all that kind of thing. I'm a 17-year-old kid. I don't really have any tools or anything, so this is as good as it was whenever it was out of the box, except for a couple of scratches and dings because I carry this thing around with me. I know, I have no life. Anywho, but yeah, so as far as lightsaber hilt construction, this has taken quite a few dings and bangs and everything. I've run into people, they probably got more hurt than this saber. There's scratches, but that's to be expected with aluminum. It's a solid saber, and it's hefty by itself. It's a pretty hefty hilt. All the threading is even. They even put spacers right here to make sure that the tri-ring more or less, lined up with the control box. This is not sharp. Look, I got white in my finger. It's not sharp. So for any of you, and also look, white on my finger, not sharp, right on the edge. I'm fine. Yes, there's a few marks, but like I'm not dying. I can grip this as hard as I can. I'm fine. So, for any of you that was worried about that kind of a thing, these hilts, again, I don't have a ton of them, but as far as I've felt and everything, this is really good. And again, it's hard to believe, but I've been in the saber community for about a year and a half now. I've done enough research to know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, what's passable and what's not. And again, as far as hilt construction, this seems fine. Another thing too, for any of you that might go, oh well, for some of us that do pay a lot of money for it, we expect it really good. I also paid the money for this with my own money. I didn't borrow it from my dad. I did have a friend help me out with buying the saber initially, but the money that I did put in was my own hard-earned money, and I put a good chunk of it. I put in more than 50% initially. So again, with that out of the way, everything is fine. I also got a free blade plug because of the Halloween sale, and just to make sure that everything was fine in here, I put this in here, I tightened the retention screw, and I could hold it up. So that part's fine. It also really doesn't wiggle. I'll even hold this down. There's like the tiniest bit of wiggling, but that's because of like the outside dragging against this little nipple thing. That being said, there is a little wiggle room. Another thing that I've seen people say is that they cut their blade plugs unevenly. As far as I can tell, this is not uneven. This is pretty straight cut. So yeah, I have nothing wrong with this at all. I just don't have any lightsaber hilts to use it for because this one has a nipple and it wouldn't really matter. But yeah, so as far as hilt construction goes, this is a very solid hilt. Again, nothing falls off. These I've rubbed against a ton and they don't fall off. And these are acrylic, unlike some of the older ones that are just painted on, which I really enjoy the fact that they did that. The D-ring, still there. But yeah, so as far as hilt construction goes, it's solid. I am going to be ordering a Ultra Saber's stunt saber very soon, and I'll talk to you. I'll explain why I got that as a stunt saber and not this one whenever I do get it, and I'll go over the differences and what I like about that one versus this as far as quality. Obviously, it's not going to look the same, but yeah, talk to you all later.